Quite an amazing time having you to join us once again on a fresh episode of Politics Today that comes live simultaneously on independent television and radio. We value you, and so we'll always make sure that we bring topical issues that could help to, engender the growth and revive the economy of the country. My name is Philip Omo Gupon. As you know, as the show progresses, we're going to basically be allowing calls to be poured in from callers on independent radio and, of course, our distinguished viewers. And also, I have an array of distinguished personalities to locally twin topics we are on today. And we'll be starting with the tax reform bills, the controversies that seem to trail it, and, of course, how to address the outcome. And also, we look at the aspect of the governor of Edo State, Okpebholo's directive to the local government chairman, and how it's going to help in improving financial transparency, as he already said that the local government chairman should submit their financial statement of their councils in order to peruse. All right, so we starting on the first topic, which is the controversial tax reform bills, where the Nigerian Senate currently is deliberating on a series of tax reform bills aimed at overhauling the nation's tax system. Those bills, introduced by President Bola Tinubu in October 24, have sparked significant debate among lawmakers and stakeholders. The proposed legislation suggests increasing the share of VAT allocated to state government to 55%, while reducing the federal government's portion to 10%. The allocation for local governments would remain unchanged. The bills propose zero VAT on exports and essential goods to alleviate the financial burden on low-income earners, and additionally, they recommend reducing the company's income tax rate from 30% to 25%. The introduction and discussion of these bills have led to heated debates, as you know, within the Senate, and some lawmakers have raised concerns about procedural issues and the potential economic impact on the reforms. The importance of a comprehensive evaluation to ensure alignment with national and regional interest has also been stressed. There is a need to caution against politicizing the tax reforms debate, but rather focus on examination to prevent regional divides. A lot of our states still run unauthorized tax collectors. Here is a bill that says you cannot do that. It states that whoever is collecting must be a revenue officer. This has implications, and it is a headache for political leaders in rethinking how to operate. But we must make a choice, and we must make progress from where we are. The outcome of these deliberations is expected to significantly influence Nigeria's fiscal policies and economic trajectory. Starting from my extreme left, as I always do, I have the senior, he is the senior pastor of Solid of Liberation Bible Church, a public affairs analyst, and he is Bishop Austin Igbasan. Thanks for coming, Austin.
Thanks for having me.
And next to Bishop Austin Igbasan is a Muslim cleric, a legal practitioner, Malam Nuruddin Asunoge. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers. Good morning, listeners.
And of course, we have a civil rights activist, or call it human rights activist, and he is the People's Defender Advocate and a clergyman, Bishop Osadolo Oche. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Philip, for having me. God bless you, listeners and viewers at home.
Okay, you heard what is on, and the Senate basically are saying that they are still continuing on it, although we heard some controversial reports that they are suspending it, but we still have it that they are on top gear, carrying out, legislations in that regard. What are your thoughts about this, Bishop Austin Igbasan, starting with you?
I want to say that if you, there's need to peruse the tax reform, but when you look at it from the surface and you check thoroughly, you see that it is not an anti-people's reform. That is my take on it. That is anti-people. When I say anti-people, democracy is about the people. And any policy at all of government must have the people at its own target. The people must be the target of this reform. And when we look at it and talking about some of those goods that are consumed by the low-income earners, that are going to be VAT-free and the rest of them, that is a plus to the low-income earners. which are the downtrodden people of the society that are affected by the economic hardship and pain that we are going through. Now, also, I think it is going to also empower the local government, and that is very, very close to the grassroots, to be able to perform optimally and be able to work effectively to affect the lives of the citizenry. And also, I think it's going to also wake some of those people who are docile. The docility in some quarters will be tidied up by this reform. So we expect reaction from people who believe that status quo must be maintained. Some persons who believe that they must bring the largesse to their table, even if they are not doing so much. I think that the Senate must not suspend this bill, because we cannot continue to run our country like this. When a reform comes, we look at both the pros and the cons, and be able to look at the side that affect the masses. It must not be totally suspended. It is something that every stakeholder must come on board. Just like Mr. President has said that all stakeholders must come on board to be able to put their input, instead of some people picking up one side and begin to criticize from that end. We discovered that, you see, the allies that are dealing with our people, they look for something that will be a common ground, as if they are fighting for the masses. And when you thoroughly check it, you see that they are protecting their own interests. This tax reform, I tell you, the rich will pay more tax than the low-income earners. And when you put it side by side, there are some persons that their total take-home, if it is within this some fraction, they are exempted from paying the tax. And these are the people that are really working and are suffering. So we expected those who are reacting to react. But we are not going to allow their reaction to make this noble idea to be suspended, because it is about the commoner, it's about the low-income earner, that we should do things, and some of those things that are going to be free is going to affect the masses. And as I'm concerned, anything that has to do with democracy, that the masses are exempted, I think it should be ruled out. So this thing is something that affects the masses, and I think that those who are crying should put their cry on the table. Those who are going to laugh will put their laughter on the table, and we will have a shift between this reform so that it will be able to affect our people. I concur totally.
Okay.
I concur.
All right, let's get your perception, Malam Nuruddin, because some in some quarters are saying that it may have some political implications and maybe some regional and religious sentiments affecting it. What's your take?
Well, the truth of the matter is that there is nothing done by man that will not have the political dimension. It's there. The regional issue, whether you call it religion, all of that will be there. But I'll tell you most frankly that the negative propensity or proclivity of man can only be tamed and domesticated when regulated by law. Outside of that is bestiality galore. The last time we had an attempt at reforming our tax law in this country was in 1993. Decades after, is it due? More than overdue. The reactions that we have seen, are they to be expected? Yes, naturally. I would have been worried. I would have considered the bill itself troublous if there were no reaction, because it's in the nature of man. That's how we are neurobiologically wired to resist reforms. Whether they ultimately will benefit us or not, we want to start by first reacting, and so persons are reacting. But I'll tell you most frankly, what is painful is that between when the bill was submitted to the National Assembly and when people began to react, they would not claim they have had enough time to read what is in that bill, digested the content, and to make a valid and informed position to say this is why we are either in support or why we are engaged. All that we have seen is that people are reacting on the basis of sentiment or on the basis of bad wagon, whatever. Oh, my person doesn't want this bill, and so I will naturally not want the bill. And so you have that happening. And you need to ask a fundamental question, which is that for those who either are in support, particularly those who are opposed to it, you ask the fundamental question. does their mental construct, for example, find validity outside the circumscribed space of their congeniality? If the answer you get, which I'm sure you would get if you were to be robust in the conversation that is generated around this, will be in the negative, you find that they just are reacting because they want to react. But again, whoever intended to reform needed to appreciate that critical to the whole issue of reformation, the people. And so these people, whether one of the negative aspects of democracy we have really never wanted to embrace and embrace seriously is the fact that representation implies denial of participation. Because in logic, when all else is P, no value is allocated. So if someone is in Abuja representing me, he has denied me the right of participation. That is the simple truth. But even for those you say are representing us who have spirited away our right of participation, how much was the consultation before the Reformation? We probably would not have been having the problem if we were running a democracy that is not tainted with this democratic tendency, wanting to be authoritarian. Yes, you can be authoritative, not authoritarian. If there had been consultation, perhaps in their inner room, all of the fears that are being expressed now that people are buying into blindly, either you are following or you are rejecting, would not have been there. They would have been dissipated at the level of all of those discussions that would have taken place. But that was not done. So we have the challenge that we have now. And for crying out loud, it's still a bill.
Okay,
It's
of
yet
course,
a law.
of course. And by so doing, consultations are still ongoing because
Should have been ongoing, not
there's
the-
basically going to be a public debate and the conversation that we're having right now. And that could also help to shape in the policies. But some challenge here is that some see it as raising some unrest or some regional imbalance. It is believed that the tax reform bills, if passed into law, could unsettle a region. What's your take?
See, thank you, my dear brother. Man is created by God as a doer. Either you are doing what is wrong or you are doing what is right.
Yeah.
You must do something. And if that is how God have created man, the man ought to have to study what he is doing, whether it's right or wrong. Now, going to history, or before I go to history, we have representatives,
Yeah.
Senators, and House of Reps. Controversial issues like this of national interest ought to have been discussed at their various senatorial and federal constituencies
Before embarking on initiating the bill.
before initiating the bill. A proposal can be sent by Mr. President to them to become a private proposal. Mr. Senate President, this is a private proposal. Please share it to all the senators so that they can have their senatorial consultation.
Yeah.
Let's get a feedback of the feeling of the people. They will see the reaction. But then you have made consultation. You are not expected to get 100% response of yes or 100% response of no.
Exactly.
And when you know that that bill is for the good governance and interest of the people, even when majority say no, you still have the power to influence it.
Isn't this what the bill is all about?
As the president. Because you have not submitted it to the House now for the open debate. Right? And that was what was lacking. That is bringing us to where we are now.
Okay.
Number two is that if we go back to history, when we were under region, we did very fantastically well. There is no village under the surface of the earth that God have not given a natural gift of endowment. There is not. Also, every human being have up to at least three gifts to exercise its life out of the 9 gifts. But when you are careless, you can't even discover one. Now, if God have blessed every community, and it's the community and villages and camps and hamlets that make up the village, that make up the town, that make up the city, that make up the local government, the ward, the local government, the constituency. Why can't we look into our various communities? What did God put here for us to survive? In the last First Republic, the North was dealing with cotton. That's why they have the largest desert mill in Africa. And when it was so, they did not agree to share that money with anybody except the constitutionally approved percentage that it should be donated or contributed to this
Center.
Plus. The West has cocoa. The Midwest have rubber and oil. The East has oil. And we are doing very well. We build schools, we build roads, we build hospitals. In Midwest to West to Midwest, we have free education.
So are you saying these reforms will take us back there?
If we manage, we take us back there, that there will not be laziness in any village,
Okay.
in any ward, in any senatorial, in any state.
Okay.
Because we all now will begin to struggle to see what we have to be able to sustain ourselves.
All right.
And by so doing, there are places they have coal, they have gold, they have this, they have that. But they are busy waiting for the money from oil. And when it becomes one central area that must furnish and enhance every other place, the what do you call it, the cow or the fowl that lay the egg, one day, the fowl will tell you, I will not lay the egg. So we should all look into our various communities.
Okay.
Because the time and the era of sitting down doing nothing, get money even higher money from the money and revenue generated from the Niger Delta or any other part of the South should be jettisoned. Because there are a lot of persons down the North, they have no business at all than to wake up where Baba Riga go to council.
Okay. If we are to perceive the bill as about majority of the bills or what it comes with is for the betterment of the people, and if it's going to bring a regional balance, no regional conflict, we also have a history, like some would say, of evading, or some of these persons or companies evading taxes, and also a history of corruption. So how should an institution or the institutions of government, implement this if it basically comes to fruition? Or do you see an attempt to abort it even while in the embryo stage?
I feel that the way I look at it, you see, we cannot continue to do something the same way and expected another kind of result. And a child who is 8 years, 10 years old that is not crawling, you can't call that a child again. A child is not crawling at 10.
That's abnormal.
Yeah, so that is not the plan of God for such a child. I feel that some persons, don't forget that there are part of this country that have mineral resources, and they are mining these resources. Is not going to government coffer, and it runs within some set of people. Yet they waited for the oil from one place to be shared for everybody. Now, these kind of persons want the status quo to remain. They will make all kinds of noise about it. But we can't continue, because our children, even our grandchildren, will blame us and say, sir, what did you do at that time to make a change? As my fellow bishop has said, there is no part of this country that God has not blessed. There is no part that is not blessed. I can tell you for free, part of this country that they are mining gold. If you take a nylon bag of gold, it's more than 200 truck of oil that is inside a small nylon bag, and people are going on daily basis. They are making it.
So no region will be left behind.
No region. So these people who are doing this, and they are, you remember the issue of Zamfara, when they were during Buhari's time, that they brought one pack of gold that they said they are going to sell to federal government. Now, do you know how many gold is being mined on daily basis there? And whose account does that one goes to? So the issue of saying it is not going to fly, we are going to do everything to make sure the reform fly. And those who are bringing sentiment, they are not looking down. If they look thoroughly, there's a particular village I know, they are mining gold there. Chinese people are there mining gold. They are mining gold. The road to that community, it is Old Testament bridge that lead to that community. And those things are going on. And even the community, the king of that community does not have a car. So what we are saying is that this reform, those who are shouting now, they know that when you peruse it, they are not ignorant of what it represents. Docility, and it's going to deal with issue of security. If you look at this tax reform, by the time it is thoroughly activated, it will deal with the issue of security. Don't forget that the security problem of this country is a business of some people who sat down and said the country will not have peace. And will begin, they are merchandise of war who are making so much from there. If this kind of thing is emphasized, and everybody go back home and look at what you have under your soil, what you have around you, what you can do, and what you generate from there. When we talk of that regional something, we have cocoa house, they have palm house there. During that time, free education. Many people who are in government today are product of free education. Even of the Southwest that time, that they were product of that. They are not from that place, but they were there at that time, but they benefited. Today, they are in position of authority. I was talking with a former governor one time who stayed 8 years, and he said, I'm a product of Awolowo's free education. Then I asked him, how many poor people today? We said, I am a pilot, courtesy of your own policy. You that benefited from that policy there, you took the ladder up. How many poor people? Awolowo didn't know you by face. He didn't know your parents. A policy was put in place to, and you are not even a Yoruba person. You are not a Yoruba person. Now, your parents stayed there and you benefited. I now said you spent 8 years in a very rich state. Then what did you do that a poor man's child will stand today and say, the policy of Mr. X and X when he was governor made me a pilot, made me a barrister, made me a judge? Because we are talking of Awolowo that put a policy in place in a regional level, and you are beneficiary of it. Yeah. So I feel that some people most of those who are making noise now, they know that docility will go. The issue of free money will go. The issue of there is no accountability will go. Because when we say this one, when you don't, you that say you don't have anything, and you have something, and you are sharing from other people something, when it comes to everybody look at your end, you will wake your brain. All those who are running up and down, the one you are doing without giving to government, you will sit down to be able to say, we have this thing here, we have been sharing within ourselves. It is time now for us to look inward and bring something out there and be able to sort ourselves and develop.
Okay, it's quite challenging, Malam Nuruddin, where some are even saying that, like some legislative members and some senators who may come from a certain region are being scared or skeptical of trying to advance their arguments in the positive direction for these reform bills, to scale through being passed into law, based on the fact that maybe where they come from, they may lynch on them if they, support these reform bills. What do you see as the challenge of this, and how can we tackle it? Most especially as we also expect that whatever lobbying is going on in the National Assembly, it should be for the positivity of getting these reform bills, passed into law in a way that is going to affect positively Nigerians.
Well, the point we want to make, which we should not lose sight of, is the fact that the bill has different sections. Those who are complaining presently just picked one item.
Yeah.
That's what all the noise is about. Like one bad apple that tends to spoil every other one. It's about the issue of the VAT. The presidency has demonstrated a commitment to making funds more available to states and local government, because that's where the people domicile.
Yeah.
By reducing what was supposed to be the VAT share. The argument that had come with this is the fact that there is a poor or a misunderstanding of how the VAT was supposed to operate. The proposed bill, the proposed law, which this bill is all about, gives to the state and says that the model of distribution of the VAT, whatever accrues
Yes.
to the VAT, will be by what you refer to, not where the company is located, but on the basis of consumption. Which will mean that if we have a company in Benin, for example, that company produces what only people in Kano are interested in. It will mean that it is in Kano. Because when you appreciate the principle of VAT, it is the consumer who pays it.
Exactly.
So if I buy and I sell, I'm not paying the VAT. I have recovered whatever. It is the one, when Philip gets it from me and Philip decides to consume it, you pay the VAT.
As the end
and
user.
so they are not saying it is where you are domiciled that the state is the one that has the right to collect that VAT. And so it will mean if there is a company in Lagos, for example, that produces so much, but does not have a market in Lagos, or that 80% of what it produces is sold either in Kano or in Maiduguri, it will mean that the VAT will be collected there.
Yeah, by the state.
What it does mean is that it challenges every state to say, hey, wake up from your lethargy and now begin to say, how do we stimulate the economy in a way that it grows and ultimately develops? Because purchase is a function of the cash or what resources is in the hand of the people domiciled in your state.
Yeah.
And so if you have a state that is impecunious, where the vast majority of the citizenry are navigating that heaving ocean of penury, it will mean that consumption will be low. And so whom are you going to blame for all this? So if you stimulate your production and people are able to make good money, what we find over time is that the money comes from the federal allocation that you get. And when you look at the pattern of the distribution, it's only 60% of that goes to consumption. 20% will still be on the basis of equity.
Yeah.
All states will take the same. Another 20% will be on the basis of population. So even if Edo consumes more, Edo has less population compared to Kano. Kano will get more of the 20% that is allocated to population. We need to take this. Now, but there is a point we need to address, which is that the whole issue of security is in the hands of the federal government. Just like you have oil being mined in the south that is unaccounted for by those who are mercenaries, because when the government wants to do a declaration, I'll tell you most honestly, what we sell as crude is at the very best 10-20% of what was produced. The other 80% are stolen. It's the same you find happening in Zamfara, where the state government, it's not the state or the local that are beneficiaries. The Chinese that were spoken of, or any national, whatever, having some local collaborators, these are persons who are stronger than the state. Sometimes for the state to be able to operate, they go into negotiation with identify, because they are not faceless human beings. These are space that the state does not have capacity to man. And the federal government had a responsibility at all material time, because the whole issue of security is domiciled, vested in the federal whatever. He's been unable to do so. And so you cannot expect, even if you do all of the things you say you want to do, say, hey, you have all the resources there, they have absolutely no access. A number of them survived. Remember that time there was, flags were raised in different parts of this northern states by those persons who were truly in charge. And even as we speak now, there are persons, if they must wake up tomorrow from tonight's sleep, they must have evidence of paying tax to these governors of the unmanned space.
Fantastic articulation. Well, get your reactions over this. And what do you see as a challenge? Because we've enumerated some of the positives of it. But what do you see as a challenge? And also look at the Nigerian history of not always allowing what is seen as a good bill that will be a benefit to majority of Nigerians scaling through? And how do we tackle that?
You see, any man who wants to succeed in life should not look at obstacles, because obstacles and challenges are very good to succeed in life when you face them. But when you run away, you begin to mourn and cry that it's too hard. You will never have that word breakthrough. Breakthrough is that where others are running, you face it squarely. And when you come out of it, you become great.
Yeah.
So I will encourage Mr. President, now that he did not do it a private bill first to circulate, you still have the veto to pass it.
Okay.
What he will do is you call them, particularly those that are in his party. The party chairman should call them for a meeting, educate them more, because so many of them don't know the importance. All they know is that our region will not benefit. Like my brother have so clearly stated.
And there's no region that will not benefit.
Absolutely.
Now, when you look at the population as ascribed to Kano, whether it's true or not, then they give, out of that 20%, they share it by population. Kano will get the highest, because Kano has the largest local government, 44,
44, yeah.
than Lagos State.
Yes, sir.
Right? And more ward. From that, they benefit more. By the time they now know that, oh, this is the position that we are naturally endowed by God. And when we do more research, we discover
Exactly.
what God has given to us.
That have not been
They
explored
will come
to
and
max.
thank me that I was the one who gave them an idea.
Okay.
You understand? So when the president now call all of them, educate them, look for those who have brains
Okay.
to educate them. But where that fails, they have the veto power to inform the Senate president. If they refuse, let them return it to me.
Okay.
When they return it to me, I will use my power to
Well,
pass it into law.
All right, thank you.